Anybody that wants to make motions or second motions, please just make sure that you list your club name in the chat also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody
All right,
that
so it
wants
looks
to
like
make
we got a
motions or second
motion,
motions, please
and
just
we
make
got a
sure that you
second.
list your club name in the chat also. Thank you.
Uh-oh. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Okay, so we're gonna try to use the Turning Point app to vote for the motion. So obviously your options are approve, decline or whatever, or abstain. So I don't know if someone has eyes on the Turning Point app right now.
There are only options answer A, answer B, and answer C that I can see.
A will be in favor, B will be to oppose, and C will be to abstain. That will be for all of the votes tonight, but we'll repeat that each time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so I don't have eyes on it. So whenever we do reach quorum, you'll just have to let me know.
It's the responses aren't coming through, Jay, so I think we're gonna have to push it to a Zoom poll.
Okay.
I'll start that now.
Okay, thanks. So there's a poll on the screen. You can vote on our motion to approve the minutes from the 7th and the 21st. Okay, so I'm just gonna end the poll. Our motion passes in favor to approve the minutes from the 2 meetings that we had in April. So we're just gonna move on. Okay, and that's just showing the results. So announcements, I guess we're gonna have a few people introduce themselves. I think the first person on here is Courtney.
Jay, I don't think Courtney is here, right, Stephanie? She's not.
That's correct.
Okay, so I will introduce Courtney, and I will talk about her stuff. Hi, everyone. I'm Jen. I'm the vice president. Courtney was unfortunately not able to make it tonight, but she is our current Mark Diamond Research Fund director. So she is in charge of that. The grant applications for the fall deadline are now open. It is a fully online process, so you'll want to make sure to point people to our website for that. The deadlines for this fall grant, the deadline is September 17th, and then we will have a spring grant that runs from April 1st through March 31st, starting next year, and then a summer grant as well. So those deadlines are there. The amounts are, if you're a PhD applicant, you can apply for up to $3,000. If you're an MFA student, you can apply for up to $2,000. And if you're a master's student, you can apply for up to $1,500. There's a lifetime max of $4,500. So if you apply in both your master's degree and your doctorate degree, that lifetime max is $4,500. And these are research funds for your degree. So for your dissertation, for your final project, etc. So I think next we have editorial.
Is anyone from editorial or programming here, or should I just introduce these people?
Megan is here from editorial and Larice is here for programming.
Okay. All right. So editorial assistants, this is going to be Samantha, Luke, Megan, Connor, Joseph. Their email is right here. Our new programming coordinator is Larice Russell. She's actually going to talk a little bit later. And then we have Stephanie here and Diane. Okay, I'm gonna move on. So quite a few announcements. I guess I should just make these ones. UB Link. So GSA is going to be relying heavily on liability waivers and pre-approval of events via UB Links. Please make sure that you update the roles of your club officers appropriately on UB Links so that they will be able to submit event requests in order to plan events and so they can register your club. Is Tom here to talk about UB Links?
Yes, he is.
I am. Hello, all.
Hi, Tom.
Do you want me to talk about UB Link now?
I
Yeah,
think
I
there's a
think-
couple more points, Jay, that.
Oh,
to
okay.
look through real quick.
Okay, so in-person GSA events are allowed, but must follow all federal, state, local, university, and GSA guidelines. All events must be submitted for university and EH&S approval on UB Linked first. Once UB Linked approval is received, clubs may then submit requisition requests. All clubs must use the Event Pass app to admit only pre-registered students to in-person events. Every attendee will need to complete the GSA liability waiver before attending each in-person event. It is the responsibility of the club officers or event organizers to verify a liability waiver has been completed by each student as part of pre-registration before admitting them to an event.
Hey, Jay,
Yeah,
real quick on that point, because the events now have to be approved through several methods, we highly, highly, highly encourage, recommend everything, but force you to do it, to get those event requests in as soon as possible, because it takes a long time to get through that process. So if you know now, if you've got events coming up, put those requests in now. I just wanted to throw that out to our club so that they're not kind of blindsided by the fact that it could take a week or two for some of these approvals to go through. Thanks, Jay.
thank you. GSA will be checking attendance list against waiver lists before processing any reimbursements or payments related to in-person events. COVID student compliance, here's a link. You can access that to be able to see the policy. I don't know if this, Tom Vane from Student Engagement is going to give us a training presentation on how to use this UB Linked. Tom.
Thanks, Jay. Okay, so do you mind screen sharing? And I can show everyone a UB Linked and they can follow along.
Am I screen sharing? Who's screen sharing?
I just made you a co-host, so if you have your own and you want to switch
Perfect.
over and screen share.
Awesome, just got it. Thanks, Stephanie. Okay, so for UB Linked, if you all want to follow along, that's totally fine. I actually recommend it. That way you can get some hands-on experience as we go through. So when you get to UB Linked, you'll want to log in and sign in so that you'll be able to see your account. And I'll run through a few things when it comes to your organization. I'll use student engagement as a example. So when you go to your club page, you should see manage organization in the top right corner of the screen where you can click this button. If you do not see manage organization, and if worse, you see a blue button over here that says join, that means that you've never joined your student organization on UB Linked. So first you'll want to join your organization, and then you'll want to contact your old executive board members to have them change your leadership role to give you access to manage UB Linked, as only student leaders can transition other student leaders and give them that role. If for some reason it takes a while for you to get a hold of your old e-board, if you don't have this manage organization button, like if it takes a week and they're not getting back to you, you can reach out to me or Stephanie or Diane, and we have access to be able to change that for you, but we really recommend doing it student to student so you can get that hands-on experience of what it's like to be able to transition that leadership role. Hopefully, all of you will have this manage organization button for your organization as you have a leadership role in your club. So when you click on it, you'll see here, and don't worry, it actually took me like a week to figure out that you have to click this 3-barred hamburger menu, which will reveal the menu of tools that you can use for UB Linked. The way I like to explain UB Linked to people is think of it literally like a wrench. Like if you didn't know what a wrench was and I handed you a wrench, you'd be like, what do I do with this? Do I like, is it a weapon? If you're playing Clue, sure. But if you know how to use the wrench, it can be a really useful tool for plumbing, but also more than that. So think of UB Linked as a wrench. Once you understand how to use it, it becomes incredibly helpful. So I'm basically going to go down this list with you. So starting with roster, like I said, you'll want to be able to change your roster by having a leadership role. So in this position, you have a primary contact. You can change that with your pencil-shaped edit button. And when you get to your roster, as long as you have that leadership role, you can change the leadership roles of other individuals by using the pencil-shaped edit button. You can give them different roles and positions. One position that we'll be talking about in the future is the events coordinator position. You won't see this on this page as it is a departmental page, but if I chose anthropology as GSA, let's check them out. I think I saw them. You'll see here that there's the events coordinator position. So the events coordinator is able to have the events section of UB Linked and reserve events. Same with the president, and we'll get into that. So if you want to invite people to join your organization, you can click here and fill in their email addresses to invite them. I honestly recommend having them join on the spot, like when they attend your meeting, have them join your page. It makes things much easier. And that way you're not waiting for an invitation to go through. You can also manage positions. If you want to change like public facing positions for the president, you can hide people in that position or give limited access or full access to that page. One thing to keep in mind is if you held elections already, when your elections are up next, either in the spring or if you need to hold the elections in the fall, after the elections are done, you'll need to update your UB Linked page to make sure that your roster is up to date so that GSA and the university can get a hold of you and know who's in each leadership role. As I'm sure most of you have received some emails from me being pulled from UB Linked. Sometimes I'll receive emails saying like I've graduated or I'm no longer a leadership role in the club, so you can change that position. But I look at UB Linked to update our roster on the university end. To update that, again, just hit the pencil-shaped edit button and update your roster with the new executive board. Keep in mind, you'll want to change your position last. So if I'm Aaron, I want to make sure that I change myself out of the president role last, or else I won't be able to change the leadership roles of other students. And that's mainly, one of the other big things about rostering is exporting the roster. So say you want to contact all of your members, you can do so by hitting export roster, download your roster, and then you can use that to basically create a listserv to contact all of your members. Let's see, next. Let's check out About. About is super easy. It's super simple, pretty intuitive. You'll just enter your About section, enter a profile picture, usually a club logo. For contact information, this is great contact information. You want to be thoughtful of your address. So if you have a street address, you don't want to put your own personal address. I've seen some clubs do that where they'll put like their own personal address, like 429 like East Fern Street. I don't recommend that. You also don't want to put your own personal phone number. You might want to consider updating emails. Just keep in mind that when leadership roles change, you'll want to update the email for contact information. Love that you have a connection to your external website, and you can do anything related to social media here. Events. So events is the big one. This is the one that GSA will be approving and processing, and you'll want to use the event pass. So there's basically, I'll go over two large steps when it comes to events: the event creation process and then the event check-in app with you. So to create events, like I said, the only people who can create events are those with events coordinator positions or presidents. You'll be able to see the event section. If you only have the event coordinator position, you won't see all of this. You'll only be able to see events. If you have an officer position and an event coordinator position, you'll be able to see all of this plus events. So you'll go to this, you'll click create event. You'll type in the event title. You'll select a theme. Let's say we're having a meeting. So let's say social. You'll type in a description, start date. Let's say it'll be, let's give ourselves plenty of time to make sure that this event gets approved. So the event will be on the 29th. Noon to 1 sounds good. You'll enter your location. I don't think I need a map. People should know where it is, and the location will just be test. So for event visibility, you can either show to the public. That means anyone who isn't logged in on UB Link will still be able to see the event when they go to UB Link. You could do the University at Buffalo, so those who are logged in will be able to see the event on UB Link. You can do organization members, so only members of your roster will be able to see the event, or invited users only. I want everyone to know about the event, so let's pick public and go click next.
Tom,
From
before you
here-
move on, can I
Yeah.
chime in real quickly? One of the things that GSA is looking for is in all event requests, you must have the link to the GSA's liability waiver in your event description. So the step prior when doing that, the GSA liability waiver has been preloaded as a form on every single GSA club's UB Link page. So when you're doing the description, please make sure that that information is being included there. Otherwise, it could cause a delay in the review process.
That is, thank you for sharing that, Stephanie. I appreciate that. And being back here, you also reminded me, if you are co-hosting, so say you're collaborating with another club, you can type that in here. So say you are collaborating with the Graduate Student Association. You can pick the GSA or another student club to co-host with, and they'll be linked to the event. So make sure you put the GSA liability form. For RSVP, you can have RSVPs if you want, or you don't have to. You can say anyone, only the invitees can RSVP, or no one. You can also limit number of available RSVP spots. This is useful if you are doing an event space that has a certain capacity. Say you're only selling 100 tickets, or the room only fits 50, you can limit the number of RSVP spots. You can add RSVP questions. I typically don't recommend it. You can if you want to know certain things from people who are RSVPing, such as like you would ask them what their favorite color is if you want to have that influencer, what kind of theme you want for a meeting.
One other thing, Tom, in this section is
Yeah.
if there are limitations on occupancy handed down by either the state or the university again, we're also looking at those RSVP spots as part of all club requests. So if the capacity of the place that you are using, for example, is 100 and somehow COVID gets us back down to 50% capacity limitations, you will need to make sure that you're limiting your RSVP spots to 100.
That's a great point, and fingers crossed that we're hopefully going in a better direction. I typically recommend ignoring event ratings. They're very simple. You basically can give an event after you attend it a star rating. People aren't a huge fan of that new feature. And then you can upload a photo. So you'll just follow these guidelines and upload a photo. It's great for drawing attention to your event. When you get here, you won't see this section. This is because I have administrator access. You'll be taken straight to this section. So do you need to reserve a space on campus for your event? Spaces available to reserve through UB Linked are as follows. So one thing to keep in mind is like if you're reserving in the student union or say a centrally scheduled classroom, that you can hit yes. And then that'll make sure that the event request goes to student unions, and Liz Ladzik, the reservations coordinator, she processes event requests. It takes her about 7 to 14 days, depending on her queue. She's typically very busy around this time of year, so keep that in mind that you'll want to make sure that you've reserved the event request with plenty of time. Plus GSA also has to approve your event. So you're looking through 2 reviewers to process and approve your event. So keep that in mind. You'll want to give your club plenty of time to reserve your space. Will there be food at this event? As of November 19th, 2020, any food order for campus events must go through campus dining and shops. That has fortunately changed a little bit. So you can order through campus dining and shops. You can also choose a different caterer, or you can order manufactured, prepackaged, basically factory sealed food. If you do campus dining or shops or a different caterer, you will have to fill out and you'll be sent a food permit form to complete. This goes to Environment, Health and Safety, EH&S. They're basically our COVID department that kind of processes and makes sure things are COVID friendly and COVID safe as of right now. They'll look over the food permit. That usually takes about 5 days, so also keep that in mind. when processing event requests that they'll have to look over food. If you do manufactured prepackaged, like factory sealed food, like say Cheez-Its, for example, or say instead of getting pizza from Franco's, you decide, let's do Lunchables and throwback. We'll add some Gushers in there and some Capri Sun. We'll make it real throwback. You don't have to do a food permit that way. You can skip that. They are not approving for food permits. If you are doing an off-campus event, GSA will still approve the event. However, you don't need a food permit for that event either. And there's more information about COVID guidelines and clubs and organizations on a specific webpage, and I'll direct you to that webpage after this, after we get through the organization page. Is your club or organization recognized by the undergraduate? No, you'll click yes for being recognized by the Graduate Student Association. This lets GSA know that they need to review and process your request. Can the event be classified as one of the following? The reason this is here is because these all include outside stakeholders. So if you click yes, you'll be sent to a different list of questions, and it will let outside stakeholders know, and you can share that information with them. What's the best phone number to reach you at? Let's pick this one in case anyone wants to reach me directly. And no, this meeting will not be a service experience. You can click yes. Let's pick meeting and social gathering for the type of events. Again, keep in mind about 14 business days to process all events and space requests. Setup time, let's do 12 p.m. Cleanup time, let's do 3. Estimated attendance, let's go with 50. And what kind of space is ideal for your event? You want to be as detailed as possible, honestly. Think of your ideal space and what does it have in mind? So if I'm having a meeting, I want a flat room with flexible chairs and tables so that people can move around because I want to do an icebreaker, and no carpeting because I will have food and I don't want to spill. So students with the event coordinator position on UB Linked will be able to view current availability of centrally scheduled spaces. This is going to in effect right around the end of September. The reason is we want to make sure that all the clubs who haven't held their elections yet will have their elections and update their rosters with the event coordinator positions. So event coordinators will be able to click here and be taken to EMS where they can see if a spot is available or not. So if they type in their password, they can check, say, a centrally scheduled room and look at their date of the 29th, say from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. I can search and see what rooms are available. This is a great benefit for the event coordinators. So make sure that your event coordinators are listed in that role. So I can see during my time, what space can I utilize? Oh, Clemens 117 and Diefendorf 6 and 207. So you'll be able to see this, incredibly useful. And that's for event coordinators. What type of furniture equipment do you want? Tables and chairs on wheels. Please indicate whether your event is private or public. Well, it can be public because anyone can come to it, and anything else to keep your event successful. Something to keep in mind is like, is the time flexible? Is the date flexible? Time is inflexible, but date is flexible. Anything to make it as successful and share as much detail as possible regarding the event. Then you'll hit this after reading the statement of responsibility and hit next. I'm not going to hit submit because I don't need to, but that's basically the process for event requests. And that's how an event is requested. Now I want to go over UB Linked and their event check-in app. So if you aren't on your phone currently, I would pop out your phone and go to your app store or whatever Android users have, I think Google Play, and search for Campus Labs check-in app. Just type that in the search and download that app. As student leaders, you'll be responsible for checking in students that attend your events. This is a new feature, and thanks to the pandemic, we've been able to really push this feature and utilize it to the best of its ability. It's incredibly useful to student clubs because you're able to track attendance at your events. You'll be able to look at past events, and future e-boards will be able to look at past events and see what went well, what was attended well. You'll also be able to contact those students that attended your event and say thank you and invite them to future events. And you'll also be able to do contact tracing if need be. But besides that part, there's a huge benefit to using the check-in app. So this PowerPoint slide deck goes through how to utilize it, but I'll walk you through the steps now. So once you have the app and you have an event, let's pick an event. Let's pick this weekly general body meeting from pre-law chapter of the National Black Law Student Association. So you'll go to your event once it's approved and you'll click manage event. From there, you'll see this access code. On the app on your phone, you'll type in this access code. Once you do and submit it, it'll bring up the event to make sure that it's the correct event. And once you're sure it is, you'll just hit start scanning. From there, you'll be able to scan in students' event passes. And I'll go over how to help students find their event passes. But you'll scan in event passes and it'll show that they attended. Once your event is over, you can just click your little profile bubble in the top left corner of the app and just hit, I think, end session, and that will end your session for scanning. Say you have a very large event, like you have a big social, say you've reserved Pearl Street, and you're not sure if you have enough staff to check people in at the door, because you will need to scan people in. You'll need someone with a phone to scan people in. What you can do is copy this attendance URL and paste it into, there we go. Paste it into a QR code generator. So you can use Canva or anything like that. Pop it in the QR code generator and it'll generate a QR code. You can then print that code and students can scan in once they arrive at the door. You can have the code printed out and tell them to scan in. They will have to log into UB Link, so make sure they log into UB Link when they scan in, but they can scan in, log in, and then be marked as attended. And this is kind of hands-free. You don't need a bouncer. You just need to make sure that they have checked in. So what's going to happen is that, GSA and the university will be randomly checking out these event attendants. And if we, this is a mandatory thing that we've been tasked to do. If we find that your event doesn't have attendance or hasn't tracked people, you'll have one warning. If it happens again and your event or your club hasn't tracked people through the event check-in app, your club will lose university-wide recognition for the year until recognition starts back up in April, which means you'll be denied access to your club budget and the ability to reserve space and the ability to use UP's name, amongst other benefits of university-wide recognition. So make sure you do that. When you check in students, so you'll look at the student leader section, but if you need to help a student with their event pass, what they'll do is they'll log on to UP Link and they'll click their profile bubble right here. They'll just click event pass, and this is their event pass. And it'll pop out just like this. I recommend they save it to either their Apple Wallet or their GPay, or take a screenshot of it, because this is what they'll be using to scan into events. And this isn't just for GSA events. Basically, the entire university is going to be utilizing the UB Linked event pass. I know student engagement has been utilizing it. It's been incredibly helpful in tracking our attendance and our records. Let's go back to, I'll pick another one this time. Let's do Latin American. So that's the event section. The rest is fairly easy from there. News, you can create an article. I don't like to consider it more of an article. I consider it more of like a post. It can be as easy and simple as like an Instagram post. So you'll just write a title, a summary, and a body, and click a photo, and then you can submit that. You can make it public to your institution only, organization, or private. And that way, what's great about that is that they'll actually appear right here. And they actually last longer on the homepage than they do than like events. See, these events basically end now, but these have lasted a few days. So as you're doing some fantastic stuff, going to conferences, winning awards. That's something great that you'll want to show off in the articles section. Gallery is fantastic to show off the events and activities that you do in the community that you're creating in your organization and department. So all you do is hit create album. You can name and describe the album. You can set the visibility and basically upload photos. So something to keep in mind when uploading photos is that the system will randomly generate photos. So context is important. For example, this is great to describe student engagement. We have some really engaged students. We're going on a trip. This dirt, not the best. So although we uploaded it as part of what I'm assuming is probably an alt break or a service trip, because it's randomly appearing on the platform, it just looks a little bit out of place with context. Same with like this sideways horse. So we're gonna need to go back in and edit our albums real quick. But to give you an example of how they randomly generate, that's what happens with the gallery section. Documents is fantastic for uploading your constitution or any other documents you want to share with your members. For example, minutes, great to pass along as you are leaving your legacy and you're transitioning to new officers. Forms are, I love forms. You can't tell by our 35 forms. Forms are fantastic. They're basically Google Forms, except to utilize them, you'll need UB linked. So you can guarantee that the students that are filling them out are either part of your roster or are university students. They're fantastic for doing a whole variety of things. When you want to create a form, you just click these three buttons right here. You'll click create form, the title of the form, and you'll be able to choose various things for the form. For example, let me show you our Community Day 2021. I'll show the form questions. So this is what the form will look like. You can make questions or prompts mandatory or not by hitting required. You can choose either a fill in the blank, a selection of one, selection of many, or more through these buttons right here. Single checkbox, instructions, instructions right here. Text fields, radio buttons, drop down lists, checkbox lists, rankings. You can upload have them upload a file, like if you need your club members to upload a PDF or a JPEG of something. Say you're doing a contest for a drawing for a t-shirt, you can have them upload the files that way on forms. Finally, elections. So elections are fantastic and utilized by GSA. So every GSA club runs their elections through UB linked. It's incredibly easy to do. You just click the create elections button. You'll fill this out. Test. You can include instructions or not. Let's say we'll include instructions and give instructions about it. If you want to set it to active, you can display an alert on the organization homepage. So the start date and time for the elections, say I want it to start on the 15th and I want it to run till the 29th. I want it to start the 15th at 12 o'clock a.m. and end on the 29th. But actually, if I wanted to end on 11:15 on the 11:59, I'll set it for the next day and hit only allow users listed on the roster of this organization to vote. So make sure your roster is up to date. You can hit save and then upload a ballot. Test 6. You can tell I've done a lot of tests of how to create an election. You'll then create a ballot. You can enable your general access for your roster. I have to test 6. Save. And then you upload. So say you have your president, you're voting for president. You always need 2 options. So option 1, and say I am running unopposed, you can always hit abstain. And say for your treasurer, you have co-treasurers, you can hit checkbox multiple, or say your senators, you can hit senators and you can select more than one. So option 1, option 2, option 3, option 4. You can save that, but you only want them to vote for 3 people. You just go to the edit section. The minimum answer is 1, the maximum answer is 3. Hit apply, and you're good to go. That's the basics of elections. If you submit something and you're not sure if it went through, you can always check your submissions, like your event submissions, by clicking on your bubble and then clicking submissions. So all of these things, if it's in progress, that means I have not submitted it. If it's pending, that means that it's waiting approval. And if it's approved, that means it was approved. If it's in progress, you can always go back to the form and complete it by hitting that eyeball. So you can do that for forms, for elections, for your registration and your events. Keep in mind the GSA re-registration ends on April, it starts in April. It ends October 15th. So keep that in mind. To re-register your organization, if you haven't done so yet, click organizations up here, click register an organization and re-register existing. I won't be able to see, like it won't come up for me because I can't re-register an organization. So say you'll search for a graduate student association. Helps if I can spell that. And then you can find one. Instead of not available, it'll say register an organization. You'll click that blue button and you'll complete and submit that form. Finally, for any COVID questions, you can always go to UB Linked for the Q&A. And you can read all the different answers to the different questions regarding COVID on this page. If there's a question on here and you're not sure, or if there's not a question on here that you have, if it's more GSA related in terms of the functioning of the student government and the club, feel free to reach out to the Graduate Student Association. If it's more university related, feel free to reach out to me, or to cover both grounds, you can reach out to both of us. All right, that is basically everything, Jay, through the speed run of UB Linked. Does anyone have any, do we want to open up for questions if anyone has any?
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to put it in the chat, or I guess you can unmute yourself.
There are a couple questions in the chat. I was kind of reading through them. Some of them we were able to answer, but Tom, I want to direct a couple of them to you.
Definitely.
So one of them is pretty straightforward. I think it says, will event and club leaders also have to check into events? I think that's a yes, right? All students have to check in.
Great question. Yes.
Okay. The next thing is, so students have to log in to UB Linked on their phone first before they can check in at events?
Correct. That is correct. Because they'll, unless they have their access code, if they like screenshot their access code or put it in their wallet, then they don't need to, because they'll already have their event pass on them. Like, for example, my event pass is saved in my Apple wallet, so I don't need to log into UB Link to utilize that event pass.
Okay, great. Somebody asked for clarification. To clarify, for an off-campus event, they can have a non-UB caterer and do not need to have a food permit approved for the event.
Correct. Good question.
Okay, great. I think I caught everyone. Then the last thing here is about COVID liability questions. If that person wants to elaborate on their question specifically for Tom, that would be awesome. Otherwise, I think I've gotten all the questions that were in chat.
Thank you so much, Tom, for coming and giving us all of this. So we appreciate it.
No problem. There's so much. On the bright side, luckily, student engagement and my fantastic graduate assistant, Preston, is creating the e-bulletin every week. So you should have already gotten one on Monday. It comes out every Monday. And she's actually working on creating videos that will walk you step by step through some UB Link processes. Like last Monday, we had info about events. This upcoming Monday, we have, I think, the UB Link check-in app, and we have, I think, the gallery and news articles. So you can always refer back to those videos as well in case you didn't catch everything during my spiel. But honestly, thanks for having me, Jay. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. It seems like there's 2 more questions actually in the chat now.
Okay.
Someone asked a question about whether you'll have to show your daily health check to attend.
That's a great question. I recommend it, honestly, just to be sure. All of the students are vaccinated now, but it doesn't hurt to show your daily health check. And once an event is created, does it go to EHS and GSA for approval automatically? Great question. Yes, once you hit submit, and you'll want to make sure you hit submit, it will go to EHS and reservations, student unions for approval, and GSA for approval. So GSA will typically get it first, and then it will go to EHS and reservations. There's no more requisition form.
That's
I'm
on
not sure.
our side. There is still a requisition form that clubs will have to fill out for your expenses. That is separate than this request for like event and space. So you will still have to fill out the requisition form to utilize your budget, and that's a separate form.
Where is the scan button at UB linked? Do you mean on the app itself? Once you enter the access code from the event, it'll prompt you to start scanning from there, and that's done on your phone.
Was that the last solo hour credit? I know it was the live, as it was mentioned earlier, well, show in the event. Did we answer the last question? Oh my gosh, chat's blowing up. I think so. All right, so I think we may have answered all the questions. Did we?
Yeah, Jay,
Okay.
really quickly, I wanted everyone to know that this portion of the meeting specifically will be cut out and we will post it so that you will have access to this sort of training. And then there are also documents. So there was something that was shared with the clubs that go through things like elections and whatnot. So you should have all of this information that we have shared with you. And if anyone has any questions after the meeting, please feel free to reach out to us.
I think I saw the question about liability waivers. All of your liability waivers are on your own individual pages as well, your club pages. So if you check your club page, you'll see the liability waiver under your forms. And that was preloaded by Stephanie, Diane, and the GSA to make it easier for you.
And then there's a last question. Someone said they feel like this was already answered. Does the event organizer need to check in everyone with the app, or does every single attendee need to download the app and check in?
That's a great question. So only the leaders need to have the app on their phone. The attendees do not need the app. They just need their event pass. So whether they keep the pass in the wallet or keep their pass as a screenshot or get their pass live through UB Linked, that is totally up to them. But the leaders, the people scanning people in, which are typically the officers, would have the event pass on their phone. That's a great question. If someone's not a UB student, but a family of a student, you can actually, if for some reason your scanner isn't working or there's like a glare that makes it tricky, you can always search their name. For a student. For a non-student, what you can do is just type in their email address or name, and that will automatically load them up as an attendee as well.
I think there was one more question. How do we link the waiver to the description of events? Is this something we already talked about? Can they just go see the video that we're gonna cut out?
Linking the waiver to description of events. Yes, so we covered that. So you basically copy and paste the waiver, the link to that waiver into your event description.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tom. We do have to move on. If you have any other questions, you could definitely reach out to GSA, or I know Tom is always willing to help students. So we're gonna move on. I'm gonna share my screen again and get back to the PowerPoint. Yes. Let's see. All right, so we do have some more announcements. So the 2021-2022 board meeting schedule was distributed with the agenda and in the meeting packet. We will determine whether an in-person or hybrid meeting can be held as the situation unfolds. This is in reference to COVID and whatever restrictions the university puts on us, and also the safety of, just all of us. And then the required board of director training. So a link was sent out with the club activation packets so that everyone can complete the online training before the next board meeting. Instructions are also available on the GSA website. Please submit certificates of completion to Diane at this email. Question and answer session will be led by GSA's lawyer, Josh Lippis, at the October meeting to review the information and answer any questions you may have. I'm going to pass it on to Larice to talk about programming. Is Larice here?
Hi,
Clarice.
sorry, yes, I am. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. All right, so yeah, Becker Farms, the tickets are on sale for that. That is up and going. So there's 2 per UBID. It includes a whole slew of new things. They've sort of reformatted this year. Excuse me, so that it includes more of what's going on in the park. So you've got 1 free drink ticket for that. October is really full, so there's tickets on sale as well for the corn maze. And then the Bills game, if I'm correct, sold out in like 5 hours. So yay, cool. I hope to see some of you guys there. November is coming together. I'm waiting to hear back on a few things. It's a little light, but I'm looking forward to doing some on-campus giveaways. I'm setting up a day to be on each campus, north, south, and downtown, to do some giveaways in lieu of being able to do our regular coffee hours and siesta events. So then December is Shays, and I am really hoping that somewhere in there we can get Hatchets and Hops to come back to campus and do a little end of semester stress relief in that regard. So we're looking into that too. And then a spring lineup coming around. I think we still have the canal side stuff going on as well. So there's lots to do. And I am also in talks with some of our local venues to be able to provide additional coupon codes to graduate students too, so that we can really encourage people to get out, do things on your own, seeing as how we have some limitations. So if anybody's got any suggestions or there's something you'd really like to see, please email me, let me know. I'd love to know what you guys want to do, what your club members are interested in, especially given all the new circumstances. It's going to have to be a lot of independent activity, but small groups going together and things like that. Whatever we do though, just make sure you sign your liability waiver, please.
Yes, I love how you drop that in on them. So thank you so much,
Just sign the
Louise.
liability waiver. You can pretty much have at it.
Yes, thank you so much, Louise. Looking forward to the activities you have planned. I'm gonna move on to the report of the president. So I never got a chance to introduce myself. To anyone who doesn't know, my name is Jay Coley. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the Graduate Student Association president. I am a 5th year sociology PhD student. It might be 6th year. I feel like you get to a point where you just forget. So this time, my report of the president is pretty short. I just want to talk about the whistleblower policy and the conflict of interest policy, which was included in your meeting packets. So verification of receipt of these policies by all board members will be needed by the October board meeting. We will email acknowledgement forms out with the next meeting agenda. Please also make sure to share the policies with newly elected board members. Jen?
Hello. Oh, sorry. So just so everyone aware, Stephanie is having some technical difficulties. So she is here and I can ask her questions, but her Zoom is currently not working. So if you have any questions for Stephanie or she has to do anything, please let us know. So hello, as I said earlier, my name is Jen. I am the current vice president. I have switched over our mandatory officer training to be online and done at your own pace. I did this because it was a little bit tougher to kind of schedule the meetings and do everything virtually. So now everything is offered on our website, and we're just having you take a quiz so that instead of you having to kind of come to a meeting and prove to us that you got all the information, you do it through this quiz. You have to pass the quiz at 80%. I do grade those as they come in, and I get back to you if you've passed it or not. So please review all of those. So the officers, the president and the treasurer have to review all of those required materials and take that quiz. All of that has to be received by September 30th. Otherwise your budget gets frozen. Ours is important. The universities is even more important. Please, please, please submit your recognition paperwork to the university by October 15th. If you don't do it by then, your club is not recognized at all by the university. So you can't get space on campus, your budget is frozen, etc. Great, I think I'm good.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Josh Joseph. I'm the treasurer. I'm I think third year PhD electrical engineering student. So go through my report of the treasurer. So it's been recommended by our accountant and auditors that GSA creates an official reserve account because we're having enrollments down a little bit, and we want to make sure we have something set aside for a rainy day. This account would help us plan for unforeseen revenue shortages. Like I just said, it'll help us keep the organization afloat if a referendum vote should fail. GSA would like to allocate $250,000 of our undesignated fund balance to create this new reserve account. The GSA board of directors must vote to approve creation of the new account and the allocation amount. All right.
Oh, Josh.
Yes.
We need a vote on that.
Okay. So do we need to get a motion?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got a motion from anthropology.
You have a question in chat, Josh.
I can take it if you need me to, Josh.
Go ahead.
So this is all money that was left over in reserve as unspent money from last year. We generally don't have this kind of money available, but due to COVID and the fact that so much of our programming was reduced, so much of our conference funding went unused, so much of our research funding couldn't be used. This is sort of money that we're not used to having, but because of that, it's sort of the silver lining to the COVID crisis, and it will actually put us in a much better financial position moving forward. However, as far as the penny counters are concerned, they want it to be done properly. So rather than just leaving it as unallocated money, they want us to designate it specifically into a reserve account so that it's used appropriately moving forward into the future. We cannot move the money into club accounts. It's against our budgetary guidelines. Funds cannot build up and roll over funds from year to year. But this is the money that we've never been able to have in case a referendum should fail. We wouldn't immediately have to shut down the organization for an entire year and wait to rerun our referendum. We would at least be able to keep the doors open long enough to try to rerun the vote. So they felt that this was a better use of the funds.
And just so everyone understands, every year there's always unallocated amounts. So it's whatever amounts aren't used. They do roll back into our general fund. So this isn't a new thing. It just happens to be higher this year because of COVID.
Our undesignated amount last time that we checked, there's still some things being finalized, was approximately $275,000, I believe, $270,000 to $275,000. But we have not yet finished closing out the fiscal year completely. So we won't have that information until the audit is completed. But that was the amount that was recommended to us by our accountant and by the auditors.
Anybody have any other questions?
So you've got a motion and a second.
Okay, so do you want me to run the poll since Stephanie?
Yeah, you can, or it looks like any of us can. So Jay, that would be great.
Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second. This is to approve the creation of the new account and the allocation amount. So that's what this vote is for.
Reserve account. Okay, I'm just gonna give it a couple more seconds, but it seems like most people have voted. All right, so we have reached quorum. The motion passes to create the reserve account and allocate $250,000 to that account. I'm gonna share the results. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody, for voting. All right, on to our funding account balances. Obviously, nobody's submitted anything for this month, so special activity, interdepartmental funding, symposium, scholarly publication, community outreach, all our beginning annual balances are all the same going into October. So if you have any events that you want to plan for, get all your paperwork in as soon as you can. And if you have any questions, reach out to myself or Stephanie or Jay or Jennifer if you'd like to. Conference funding, again, nobody requested conference funding. Actually, we got a couple for September, but we didn't have any for August. So we start the year with 140,000 and we have 138,474 left. Thanks.
Okay, old business. No, sorry, no problem. Old business, we don't have any old business. New business, we have call for committee members, club recognition, and funding request. Jen, did you want to do this part?
Finance committee is Josh.
Oh, this is,
Yep,
okay.
that's me. So we have.
I mean, I'll
no,
fill
it's
your
okay.
committee for you, but
It's all right. I mean, we're gonna need volunteers. So we have 9 people and 2 alternates every year. There's usually 4 or 5 that would stay on every year, but that core group of people have either moved on, graduated, or got jobs. So I have one person who's committed to sticking on for the year. Thank you, Meg. But before we can adjourn this meeting or move on, we have to fill all these seats for the committee. This is the finance committee. And what we do is we meet the last Wednesday of the month, but right before the GSA board of directors meeting. So we would have met last Wednesday. So it's the Wednesday before the GSA board of directors meeting. And we go over funding requests for symposium, interdepartmental funding, scholarly publication, all those that were on that list there, community outreach. And then we talk about the groups that are coming in requesting the funding. And they fill out all their paperwork. They might have a couple of pending requests that they have to finish up. But we kind of get to know them and find out what their event is about or what they're asking money for in person. We've been doing it over Zoom. And then, as a finance committee, we approve a recommended amount and then we put that forth towards the GSA board of directors the following week. So would anybody like to volunteer? Like I said, we need to have this filled out.
okay. We've
Before we
got
can.
one, Laura. Cassie.
Which department?
Cassie, what department or club are you? CHHB.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else? I mean, let's see. So we'll meet the end of September, end of October, and in November. So there's 3 this month. And then next month we'll meet end of January, end of February, end of March. And then that's it. So 3 this semester and then 3 next semester. And then if we don't get a budget to pass, there'll be an extra 4th one in the spring. So 3 per semester. And they usually last anywhere from half an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how many events are happening. They typically run about 45 minutes most.
Okay, Monica, so we've got 4 now. We just need 5 more. And 2 alternates.
You get to hear about a lot of fun events.
Before everyone else.
Yes, you do. I really, to be honest, I didn't really go to a lot of the GSA sponsored events, but then when I started as the treasurer and holding the finance committee meetings, I realized how much fun these events were to go to and, exactly what people were doing. And you get to experience so many different cultures from around the world. It's really incredible. And our meetings are over Zoom too, so you don't have to go to campus, you don't have to meet in person. 45 minutes to an hour and a half tops. usually about 45 minutes, 3 times a semester. You can put it on your resume, your CV. Anybody else?
Great. Manuela. Yeah,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
How many are we up to now?
5.
Literally can't move on until we get this filled. people.
Yeah, we can't move on with our meeting until the committee is full.
Yes.
So,
All right, we got an alternate. Thank
oh,
you.
Kevin, thank you. Alternate.
It's not really a big ask.
No, before I served as a staff member for the GSA, I served on the finance committee. If you're interested in serving in an e-board position, in serving as a staff member, it is a great introduction to the organization.
And you get to find the rules and the regulations of our policies and, you know, what it takes to get funding. And that's good to know for any organization you get into, whether you stay in academia or you go into a private sector, because there's always money exchanging hands. So if you find out how things work like that, you know, it's a skill that you can use further on down the road too in your career.
Right, we need 3 more regular members and 1 more alternate.
Oh, we got one more. Andrew from political science. Thank you.
We're up to 6.
All right.
I can be an alternate. This is Jay.
Thanks, Shay. All right, so how many more members do we need?
I think we still need 4, right?
3, we need 3
Right.
regular members.
All right, 3 regular members. Come on, everybody.
And you
3
get to work
more
with
people.
Josh, and he's the nicest board member. Easiest to work with.
I beg to differ.
Easiest to work with.
Nicest board member who runs a committee. I guess
Okay,
I'm
fair.
just saying I'm not as nice as Josh.
Fair, that's fair.
Look at that, it got us 2 more lines.
All right. Thank you for joining. We need 1 more. Is
We
that
need
right?
1 more.
All right, 1 more person.
Woo, you guys are awesome.
Thank you so much,
have
everybody,
a
for
full
volunteering.
Thank you all.
Approve them all. though.
So
Okay, so we do have to approve.
just to give you a heads up, you'll be getting an email from me usually like the 2nd or 3rd week of the month, and that'll be all the documents that we're going to be going over for the finance committee meeting and the date and the time and the Zoom appointment and all that. So thank you very much, everybody. I look forward to working with everybody.
So we need a motion to approve the members of the finance committee. Can we get a motion? Okay, we got a motion from Harrison, from Anthro, and a second from Monica from oral biology. So I'm going to do the poll. Let's see. It's gonna be- Okay, so motion to approve the finance committee members. Okay, so we are at quorum, so I'm going to end the poll and share the results. The motion passes in favor to approve these finance committee members. So thank you all. So next, we're going to move on to the services committee.
That's me. So So this is only 5 members, hopefully not as painful as finance committee. It's also kind of what it sounds like. We, as a committee, work and talk about and consider the services that the GSA provides. This year is an important year for the services committee as it's a referendum year. And so we'll have to talk about how best to advertise that to our constituents. We don't necessarily meet as often. It's not necessarily a once a month kind of meeting. It'll happen once or twice this semester. It'll happen a little bit more regularly next semester. But if you are interested in serving on the services committee, if you're interested in our services, if you're interested in helping us find better ways to advertise them, if you're interested in helping us expand our services, this committee is for you. It also includes one staff member from each of our services on the committee. So you'll also get to work with people like Larice and Courtney who do manage our services. So we need 5 volunteers. All right. Rafa. Okay, we have 1. We only need 4 more.
All these committees are mandated in the bylaws, so we do have to fill them.
Yeah, these are our standing committees.
Am I eligible to be on this committee?
You already are.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
We just need 4 more volunteers. Does anyone have any questions about the committee that I can answer? There is not a limit to how many committees you can join. You can join as many committees as you want. Yes, the time commitment is less than once a month. I also don't believe in super long meetings. I'm very efficient. Ooh, another one. Excellent. Thank you, Kaylee, GGS. Oh, Kevin. Great. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Monica. Our meetings will probably not be in person for at least this semester, but if they are in person, I will give you treats. I am not above bribery, Jay. Oh, wait, we just need 1 more, right?
1 more.
Oh, we need 1 more. Yay, thank you, Morgan. So
Thank you.
now we just need the motion and second for this approval.
Yeah, so we need a motion to approve the services committee. We got a motion from Harrison from anthropology and a second from Fahid from EEH. So I'm going to deploy the poll. Let's see, Polls, Services Committee, launch. All right, so we are at quorum. The motion passes to approve the Services Committee, so thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. And the last one is the Election Committee. So I guess.
I technically oversee it, but I don't chair it, so you don't have to go to meetings with me. But like I can answer your questions and stuff. Because so part of this is we need 5 members for the election committee, and then they will elect their own committee chair. They'll choose one, and then we'll approve that as a board. So I don't have to, I'm not going to chair it, but technically I oversee it. So this is the committee that is in charge of our elections. You will review our election code. You will overview the UB linked submission of everything. So the petitions, the creating the ballot and all of that. This commitment happens more in the spring semester. So it's not a commitment right now.
The election code does have to be approved by the November board meeting.
Yeah, the election code has to be approved by the November board meeting, but you're not starting from scratch. We already do have an election code. It's just going through and making sure that it is up to our current guidelines. It follows UB policy, et cetera. So
The deadlines are updated.
and that the deadlines are updated, which is the person sitting next to me knows all of that stuff, which is really great. So yeah. So this is, yeah, the election committee. So we need 5 members here, and then one of those members will eventually be the committee chair. Okay, so we have, go ahead, from EEH. I don't know if I murder anyone's name. So we need 4 more volunteers. These are all great to put on your CV in case anyone is looking for that. Committee work is so amazing on CVs. We just need 4 more members. So this committee is super important because it helps us run a fair election of our e-board members who represent you all to the graduate school and to the university at large. So this is really important that we have a full election committee. I'm not above offering more goodies if you can have, well, actually your election committee chair can offer all the goodies. Lots of donuts. Ooh, thank you, Andrew. Another volunteer. So we just need 3 more. I appreciate everyone who's volunteering today.
I do most of the hard work.
Stephanie does most of the hard work. I don't know if you've heard that. That's true across our organization, but in this case, it is also very true. This committee is not a lot of a time commitment either. It just makes sure that it really does ensure that we have a fair election. Three more. Just need 3 more. And then we can get out of here pretty quickly. Yeah, there's only like one more thing to do after this. Okay, there's two more things to do after this. We just need 3 more volunteers, friends. Okay, just a reminder that we can't end the meeting until we have this committee full. And this is the last committee that we have to fill for the day. I know that volunteering for committees is not exactly the most fun thing to do, but this is such an important part of our organization, especially the election committee. We have to have outside oversight of our election so that we can have a fair election of our e-board. So these committees are really important to our organization. They help us make very pivotal decisions within the organization. The finance committee decides on our budget. The services committee decides on our services. The election committee oversees our entire e-board election. We need 3 more volunteers for this committee. This is the least amount of time for any of the committees to commit to. And most of that time, thank you, we got 2 more. We just need to know your department. So we've got Monica from oral biology, and
Monica wins.
Monica, yeah. Is it Vaishnavi? I just need to know your department. Oh, no problem. Okay, CBE, thank you. We just need 1 more volunteer. Thank you so much, Morgan. Thank you so much. Again, I know it's really hard as a graduate student to commit your time to something, especially when you don't really know what it is or what it entails, but these committees are really important and they are such a good thing to put on your CV. So thank you so much, everyone, for volunteering. Your respective people will reach out to you. As it states here in the slide, the approval of the election committee chair will take place at the October board meeting. All of the committee members will choose that committee member. So I will send out an email to all of you, and then you'll all get to collectively sort of decide who your committee chair is. We still need a motion and a second. Thank you. Thank you. They already knew.
Okay, I'm gonna deploy the poll. Thank you all for everyone who volunteered. So this is just a motion to approve the election committee members. Okay, so we're at quorum. The motion passes to approve the election committee members. So thank you all for volunteering and also for voting. So we're gonna move on. We are looking for a volunteer to act as the ethics officer. This person should be an independent member, a board member, not an alternative, who is not an officer or employee of GSA or an officer for a GSA club. Can someone say a little bit more about the ethics officer duty?
I believe the lawyer is best equipped to do that.
Okay, thanks, Jen. The ethics officer is a person who will only be called on if there is a whistleblower complaint against a member of the GSA, and they will assist me or one of the GSA officers in conducting a investigation into that complaint. It's usually somebody who is respected by the community, has a good moral compass, and as Jay said, is an independent board member. So basically, it's something that you're unlikely to have to do anything with. But if you do, it will be invaluable to the GSA. Does anyone have any questions about being the ethics officer?
So if you feel like you qualify to volunteer as this position, you could put it in the chat. We just need one person.
So far, we have yet to have an ethics officer have to investigate anything in the last few years since the new law came into effect. It is something, as Jen likes to say, would look good on your CV.
Also, GSA club officers are different than board members. So if you are a club officer for your club, if you're president, vice president, treasurer, you cannot serve as an independent member, but a board member is not considered the same thing as a club officer. Thank you so much, Cassie. Okay, so we just
Okay.
need a motion in a second. Yep.
Okay, so we already got a motion. Okay. Okay, we got a motion from anthropology. Second, so I'm just gonna deploy the poll again. Let's see. So motion to approve the ethics officer, Cassie. Okay, so the motion does pass. So thank you for volunteering for that. Move on. So we're off to club recognition.
Yay, me. So there's only one club up for recognition this round. It is Taiwanese. So the process for this, for those of you who are unaware, is we will give Taiwanese just a brief moment to chat about their club, and then we will take a vote. I am recommending them for recognition for that full amount of $750 after review of all of their paperwork that they submitted. This is a renewal, so they have been recognized in the past, so they are not a new club. Is there anyone here from Taiwanese that can talk about your club?
Hi. I'm the representative of Taiwanese GSA. I'm from Pharmaceutical Science Department. So our club help Taiwanese students adapt the lifestyle here, including providing culture and social related activities, such as Mid-Autumn barbecues or Chinese New Year event. Yeah, so also we also do an introduction of UB in Taiwan for new incoming Taiwanese graduate students. Yeah, so yeah, that's about it.
Great. Are there any questions for the club? All right, if there are no questions, I will take a motion and a second to approve at the recommended amount. All right, we have a motion and a second, and then Jay, if you can deploy the poll, please, and thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Sorry, I was muted. So the motion to recognize Taiwanese GSA passes. And then we're just gonna move on. There are no funding requests this month. Okay, don't leave just yet because we do need a motion to vote on adjournment.
You've got a motion and a second at 7:59 p.m.
Okay. I'm gonna launch that. Make sure you vote. All right, we're at quorum, so our motion passes. Thank you all so much for coming to the first meeting. We will see you at the October meeting.